everyone, and welcome to On the Move with Margaret. And it's just so wonderful to be here with you all, and thank you for tuning in today. So, every industry goes through change, but very few people manage to stay relevant through decades of it. And that's why I'm loving having Mary on, because she and I have been through the mill day in and day out, year in and year out. So, welcome to Mary Bailey, who spent more than 30 years helping people buy and sell property in Cape Town. And I mean, I think the market now is so fantastic. But throughout her career, she's seen markets boom and drop as well. I mean, they've slowed down. Technology is transforming this industry, and the way people buy homes has changed dramatically. I'm doing virtual tours for people and everything. Yet through it all, one thing's remained constant, and that's her belief in relationships, trust, and integrity that always matter. So today we're talking about Mary's amazing journey, the lessons she's learned over 3 decades being in it and selling properties in Cape Town and business, and why she believes the future belongs to those who combine technology with wisdom. So, Mary, welcome, and it's wonderful to have you on the show today.
Margaret, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a great honor. And thank you for that fantastic intro. And it is so true. You know, I often say that if you take an Olympic swimmer and he's swimming in the Olympics, he doesn't jump lanes. And I haven't jumped lanes. I've stayed in the real estate industry and through thick and thin, as you say, and ups and downs, and we persevere. But the big thing is, it's all about people. It's all about encouraging people, finding people the right homes and relationships. I find that my relationships are extremely important. And that is what has driven my business.
I always say, when people say, "What business are you in?" I always say, "I'm the people business," because I'm in the people business in my realtor stores and my realtor job here. It's all about people, and it's all about relationships. And I think the most important thing, being an older person in the business, is people know they can trust you, because the ones that are not trustworthy have all fallen by the wayside. You know, those have run their business without integrity have fallen by the wayside. And we just carry on going. We tell the truth all the time. People know they can trust us. And I think it comes up. But let's go back, because I know your sister Dorothy better than I know you, and I always wanted a sister. So you're so lucky to have. I think you've got 2 sisters. And tell us about growing up and how you all grew up together, and how you've all become so successful in your own right in such a diverse field.
You know, it's a really interesting question, that, because I sincerely believe it was from our grandmother. So my grandmother bought properties, sold properties, and it was during the Great Depression. She would literally fill up a wheelbarrow with furniture she had purchased on an auction, and put the furniture into the home, sold the home, and made money. So in actual fact, we have the DNA of strong women in our family. So and Dorothy is fabulous what she does as an interior designer. I think we should call her more than an interior designer, because her work is incredible, absolutely incredible. So I think we've all grown up loving property. It's just who we are.
Yeah, and your niece is an architect as well. So,
Of course.
yeah, it really is in the blood, and it is. But how has the property industry changed from the 30 years ago when you started, when you started with we had a tiny little 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, and that was quite glamorous in those days, a lovely big plot. Today, everything's squashed up, made smaller. How have you seen the industry change?
I think that what if we sort of go towards the end of where I am now, which is with EXP, which is the largest real estate industry in the world. Um, I would just wish, when Glenn Sanford, who's the founder of this American-based company, which then spread all over the world, I just wish I had joined then, Margaret, because their technology is mind-blowing. So, as a woman who's turned 70, and I'm very excited about that, because I'm a healthy one, I'm healthy, and I just enjoy life. But I think it's really important that when you look at something like EXP, which can be quite frightening to join, I mean, technology should be actually scary, but I just tackled it and went straight in. And I find that it's just enhanced my career amazingly. So you're asking how I see real estate and how it's changed. So much so. I used to have an office in the city of Cape Town, and that's where I do a lot of my business along the Atlantic seaboard. But sitting in an office, you were always bound to that desk and a
Yes.
telephone. Goodness
Yeah.
me. Now you can be anywhere in the world and still work. I could, in actual fact, there's a joke that we sort of speak about. Go on holiday because you'll sell more properties. Because the minute you step out, the minute you want a holiday, everyone wants to buy a property from you. And that happened when we went to Greece recently last year. I was just very, very busy. So the world of real estate has changed. We're not limited. Certainly, we're not limited as EXP agents to a location, to an area. I can deal in Paris, I can deal in London, I can sell properties anywhere in the world as long as EXP is there. So that has been a huge thing to be able to collaborate with 80,000 agents around the world.
Wow.
It's massive and it's exciting. But it is daunting, and it was daunting, but now, yeah, I feel that I am on top of it.
And what's one of the biggest challenges that you've overcome in this industry, which everybody thinks is easy, but it's really tough? I mean, I found it much, much more difficult than I ever dreamed it would be.
I think the industry is really tough. I think you've got to be resilient. I think you've got a quote, and it's something about starting small.
Yes.
What is your quote?
You,
It's
start
start
today where you are,
small,
what you
start
have.
nervous, start
Yeah.
imperfect, but start with intention,
Yeah.
and the future belongs to you. So I think if you can do that and you can wake up every morning and you can go, I know what I love doing. I know what I am going to do. And you just go out there. And they always say, if you are in sales, because real estate is selling,
Yes.
it's communicating with people. The more people you communicate with, the better. And if you can just do things that other people might not want to do.
I had it this week. I was showing a house and the floor was filthy. And I just said, I can't show this house like this. So there I was. I thought, I didn't even clean the floors in my own house. But there I was with the mop and I mopped the floor and we cleaned it up and we made it look amazing and we sold it. So that was, it
Oh,
just goes,
wonderful.
it's the
Yeah.
little extra things that you do that do make a difference. But,
Yeah.
the nice thing, what I love about being a realtor is that there's so many women in it. Every other industry is very male dominated. I just found out that 67% of all homes in South Africa, residential homes, are owned by women. And in America, I looked up yesterday, only 53% are owned by women. So I think that America's got a way to catch up to us. But I love it when women own their own homes because it just proves that they're financially independent. They can live where they want, with whom they want. They can have a home for their children, make sure that they've got everything, and they have a legacy which they can leave. And they know that property will keep up with inflation. And that's why I've invested so heavily in property, because for me, my pension now, if I took, well, I do get a pension anyway, was 2,000 Rand a month, which I could never live on. I always say to people, I spend more than that on my hair. So for me, having the properties and being able to have an income from my properties is what makes me have the lifestyle that I want. Why did you get into property?
I got into property because I love property. But later on, when I joined EXP, the one thing that I actually found, and I've always thought about, and it's leaving that legacy. So as a realtor, we do not save for a pension. So you make a sale, you get paid your commission, and that's it, unless you make another sale. So one day when you leave, what happens? You
Yes.
absolutely leave with a big zero.
Yeah.
That's it. You
Yeah.
leave any of these big companies, you've built nothing, absolutely nothing. So
Yeah.
the thing that really attracted me to EXP was they have a what they call a revenue share. So a revenue share is, so if I talk to Mandy down the road and she's a realtor and I say, Mandy, have you got a pension? And she says, no, I don't have. And I say, well, it's very interesting because what I've built at EXP over the 5 years that I've been here is a team of people, of agents who've joined me. And I'm not responsible for them because we're all independent contractors, but each and every one of those people, whenever they sell, EXP pays me some money. And
Oh,
that
wow.
money comes through on the 20th of every month. Now, people have teams of 10, some people have teams of 20, some 50, some, like one person has a team of 1,000 agents. Okay, now this is a remarkable thing, Margaret, because if you take the bigger companies in South Africa, they've been going for a long time. Some of them actually have their adverts say, we've been going for 50 years. Now, EXP in South Africa has only been going for 5 years, and yet they've grown to 1,500 agents, which is placing them close to the third largest
Yeah.
agency in the country.
How
So
cool.
each of those agents building a revenue share or building a team have now set up something which is going to pay them monthly, whether they stop working or not. Now,
Yeah.
that has always driven me because I've said to many women, I've chatted to them and go, what are you going to get when you finish your 10 or 15 years at your big company? And they go,
Yes.
no, I don't get a thing. And I say, oh, because I'm very happy to get my payment every month on the 20th. And
Yes.
that carries on going, whether you're working or not. So I absolutely love
Yeah.
assisting women to build up what is that pension. And the other
Absolutely.
legacy, Margaret, is that you leave that. If
Yes.
something happens to me, I pass away, and we're all going to one day, I can leave that to my husband or I can leave it to my child, and that carries on going.
Yeah.
So it's quite a
Wow.
remarkable thing, really. Yeah,
It really is amazing. That's wonderful. But when you're working with people, what do you do to earn their trust? Because people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and it's so
of
difficult to get
course.
people to trust you. How do you
Yeah,
get them to trust?
just everything I do. Everything I do in every single, whether the person is buying a 1 million rand property or a 20 million rand property, they get the same service. Um, we go far above what we have to do. We go far above what we have to do. That is the way, the mopping of the floor.
Yeah.
You
Clean
know,
the
setting up a
basin. Oh
place.
my gosh. I clean the toothpaste out the basin. That's my worst. But anyway, but
I know, I
it's
know.
in a moment when you thought, oh, am I on the right path? And if you didn't do this, what do you think you would do?
Gosh, I've never really thought about that. I don't think I've really ever had an option, um, Margaret. I think my entire life and my entire um, love has been for property. I have bought properties over the year and sold them and made
Yes.
lovely profits from them. So I'm interested in property and what property can do. And yeah, I think I just love it. I
And to
love
be
property.
successful, you have to really go the extra mile. But what do you think was the turning point in your career when it's in the beginning, it's a struggle. I know, ask me, I'm in the struggle stage at the moment. And then you sort of plateau a bit and then it just sort of takes off. What was the turning point, do you think, in your career?
I think the technology that EXP offered, I think
Yes.
that was a definitely turning point in my career. I was no longer a one man show operating out of a out of an office. I could work anywhere, and I think technology and the collaboration of the people that I can be in contact with. I'm looking for a really really beautiful home in Bishop's Court right now at a very good budget, and I just put it onto our little chats. There's a Cape Town group. There's a group with 800 people on, and I say anyone in our group have they got a property like this, and you get a few replies. So I think the collaboration of working with other agents who are
Yes.
also inspired agents.
Yeah, there are so many agents who are not committed. You've got to have agents that are totally committed. And I think a lot of people think that being a realtor is a part-time job. My God, it's a 24/7, 365 job. We never stop. We always laugh about it
Yeah,
because we never ever stop.
yeah. What inspired you to become a realtor? Because I mean, you've
Yeah.
built up a
Yeah.
huge organization, you've built up a massive organization. Why would you have started as a real estate agent?
Well, I always say all of our staff members have two streams of income, and never was it more important to have the two streams of income than during COVID, because those who had one stream of income really battled and struggled. But when you have two streams of income, it's so much easier. So when we started our business, I also I always tell the story that we started with 900 rand, and 300
Yeah,
rand was for our first month's rent. And I
yeah,
just used to pay the rent every month and think, God, this is such money down the drain. So the butcher shop down the road came up for auction, and we went to the auction. And thank you to Standard Bank, who lent us the money to buy. We bought our first property, and from then we paid it off. So when we had extra money, we would pay it off very, very quickly. And that was the first commercial property I bought. But before that, I had bought just the cheapest house I could possibly find, which was 1 Ashbury Road in Durban North. And I put a tenant in there and I paid it off quickly. Then I bought a slightly better house and I paid that off. And then I bought the house of my dreams, which was 1 Grosvenor Crescent, Durban North, where my kids were brought up. And I've always loved property. And then when we started our own business, we started buying our own properties. And now today we own all our own properties. So I've always loved property. And people would say to me in interviews, if you didn't sell appliances, what would you sell? And I said, I absolutely love property. So when I came to America, we were going to retire and do nothing. And I thought, oh my God, I'll go crackers sitting here all day. So let me go and be a realtor. So that's when I went. And here you have to do a degree. It's a 4-year degree if you do it through your university. But there's a fast track school called Gold Coast Schools. So I went through and I did my degree in 4 months. And now I'm busy doing my broker's degree, which it opens up so many more doors. Yeah, so but I've always loved property as well, and I've always had a passion for property and a passion to know that that's one of the few investments that really keeps up with inflation. But let's just go back to you and say, how important is listening and dealing with people when you're buying and selling? Because to me, that's a big one. And what qualities have helped you build long-term relationships with your clients?
Yeah. Margaret, I think I'm a people person. I like to listen to them. I like to listen very carefully. And so few people today listen. They
Mm,
talk too much. And
yeah.
I think it's very, very important to actually find out what they're wanting. But having said that, so often what they have told me in the beginning, they don't land up buying.
Yeah.
They land up buying something. I think the biggest thing is discernment. You've got to discern what are they actually saying, what are they actually wanting, and then think about what would suit them. And so often I've sold properties they would never have thought of buying. And I think that discerning spirit is a very important one. But yeah, I think listening is a quality that you can't, yeah. Trust, you talked about trust. Trust is something, and respect is something so hard to build up. And I think it could take 20 years. Um, over years, your clients come back to you. And that's when I know they trust me. They come back for all sorts of property advice, and I'm happy to give it to them. And, many of them sell over and over again through me.
And what advice would you give new agents starting out in South Africa? I mean, I think here I could give them a lot of advice starting out in America because it's very different from what I expected. But in South Africa, if a new agent joins your group, what would you say to them to get them on the right track straight away?
I think they've got to persevere. They can't give up at the first sign of something happening and didn't go their way. I try and work with them and help them with stock because that's always the
Mhm.
biggest thing that, I've got an agent in Johannesburg and I had 7 smaller apartments to sell that one of my clients wanted me to sell. And I handed them over to my Johannesburg agent, which he sold them to one investor. That
Oh, wow.
was a huge boost for him.
Yeah.
And we know that success breeds success. And I think that my desire for everyone on my team is that they become successful. And how do we support them with social media? We support them with so many different things. We don't want them to feel alone because we have no office. They
Yes.
often might feel alone. So we keep on communicating. We keep on setting up little coffees, meetings, supporting them, and and just giving them advice as they progress. I've got to sign as a I was a principal. I am still a principal, but I'm not the operating principal within the company. But as a sponsor to especially interns, they can't sign a single document. So I've got to go over those documents really, really carefully. And yeah, I think it's just support, Margaret. I think the more we can support each other, the better.
Now, 30 years is a long career. How do you get up every day excited about what you do? You know, you've got to motivate yourself. And as you say, you don't have other people in the office to help motivate you. But that's why
Yeah,
at Hershey we have all our meetings, usually on a Thursday morning, with all the ladies get together and network. And I think it's really important. And I'd love to invite you to our meetings to come and network with the group there because we have a
well, I'd
wonderful
love to. Yes,
Knowledge, Claremont and Somerset who get together.
wonderful.
So, but how do you get excited about what you do, and how did you reinvent yourself when you had to go into technology?
I get excited in the morning because of what I do. I don't think one day is the same as another. I don't have days which are the same. I don't sit calling people, or I don't. Every day I wake up, I know what I've got to do, and there are things that come up in between, and I just think that people motivate me. My clients motivate me. My sellers motivate me. I love early money. I think it's great. I think it's hugely empowering to be financially free. I think finances is what brings down so many women. And to be able
Absolutely.
to be financially free and see something that, I mean, it's, if you had to buy a franchise, can you imagine how much it would cost you? Most
Yeah.
people wouldn't actually be able to do it. But with EXP, we don't need to buy a franchise. We get everything we need, absolutely everything to run a business. And it's 900 Rand a month. It's ridiculous. And so I wake up excited that there is another woman out there, or man for that, but mostly woman, who we can motivate. We can actually say, well, get that property in. Financial freedom is really exciting. I think it's exciting to be able to go out and do what you want to do. And so I get
Absolutely.
motivated by that. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I think the industry has been so tough um, for so long, and then Cape Town became the flavor of the day, and many agents had a really, really good run. But we've still got to wake up every day and be constant. You've got to be constant. You cannot just, you've got to keep on with what you do. But I do get motivated by um, the challenges. Yeah.
Every day is a challenge. But when you think how much the property industry has changed, remember the old days, the Sunday paper used to be full of those property adverts, and then it went to websites, and now it's social media. Now we have virtual viewings. What does adapting look like to you when you think back to all those old newspaper ads that people used to go through?
Yeah, remember, I used to love those newspaper ads. I thought that was absolutely stunning, sitting and reading the newspaper on a Sunday morning. But Alvin Toffler said the literate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I've taken that to heart because we've got to relearn. Sitting, having a cup of coffee with that Sunday Times, I think it was the Sunday, was it the Saturday? It was the Saturday paper. And going through all the ads, I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I was passionate about property and I wanted to see which properties I could buy. And that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
So we've
it's
had
all
to reinvent.
online,
We
online.
have to reinvent ourselves. But I do believe it's made it easier, Margaret. I really, really do. Because when you are going to get a sole mandate from a client, they say, well, what are you going to do? It used to be, how much money are you going to send on
Yeah,
publications?
yeah.
You don't have that anymore. Your social media is going to be pushed to a limit to actually make sure you get that property out. Your property 24s or all the other portals, the international portals. But it's so different. It's so different.
It's so different, but some people are really, really afraid of that. You get a lot of women watching who say, "Oh, I'm so afraid of change. Let me just rather stay with what I've got, stay with what I know." But today you can't. And I always use my mom as an example, where she didn't want to have a cell phone. Then she eventually got one, and at the end of the day, she couldn't manage it properly, and so she lost contact with her money. I had to take over her money and everything. So I think to the people who are sitting there and saying, "I'm afraid of change," what are you going to say to them to get them off their starting blocks?
Yeah, it depends on what their age is. And I think that there is a lot of that. And I feel really sad when people do say that because if you're not challenged and you don't make an attempt to overcome that, it's not
Yeah,
difficult. With
yeah.
ChatGPT and all the other um,
Come on. Claude, my favorite is
technology,
Claude.
technology, technology. But with all the technology there is nothing you can't there's nothing you can't learn. I mean, I needed to make movies. I needed to go into iMovie and make movies of the properties, make movies of whatever I do in my area. And I learned it through YouTube. I
Yeah,
really think it's incredibly sad. And I think women like yourself and myself and women who do get out there and do embrace change are the people who I think that's really important to embrace change and encourage others to embrace change, even if it's in the smallest way. I mean, you made a huge change
yeah,
later on in
yeah.
life, and you've
Changing a
embraced
country.
it.
biggest change you can ever do. It's the most daunting and and it really gets you out of your comfort zone. And I think that's what a lot of us don't realize, that we have to get out of our comfort zone to grow. And it's only when you're out of your comfort zone that you start growing and that you look back on your life. And each time those things have happened, when you've been totally out of your comfort zone, decided to grow, and then just take the plunge. And you can't wait for everything to be perfect. I interviewed somebody the other day who said, if I had to go back, I'd tell my younger self not to wait for things to be perfect, because you really want things to be perfect, and they're
Yeah,
never going to,
yeah,
because things are changing so much. But maybe one of the reasons I'm so excited to invite you on the show was because the letter you sent me, and something really resonated with me, not just simply artificial intelligence, but stewardship. So before we
yes.
dive into it now, tell me what that word means to you.
Yeah, I think our stewardship means our integrity, our judgment, our influence. Um, how do we actually preserve what's being given to us? We've been given something. We've been blessed with the ability to communicate. We've been blessed with so many talents. And how do we actually use those? That's really the important thing. It's very important to use that and steward things like that properly,
Yes.
because we have been blessed with those things. We communicate well. We do come across. Although I don't do many podcasts, I do a lot of social media and I do a lot of other things. And we've been blessed with the intelligence. What do we do with it? How do we leave it to our next generation? And if you think about the legacy we leave in, I think that's quite important as well.
Yeah,
Leaving a
absolutely.
legacy. Yeah. So that's what it means to me. That's what it means to me.
Yeah. Now, technology is advancing faster than any of us thought. I did a social media degree, and by the time I got there, it had moved on already. It was already old fashioned. How do we embrace all the new innovations without losing the human touch that we built our businesses on in the first place?
Such a good question, that, eh? How do we do that? You're absolutely right. I think we've got to, although as much as we use AI in everything we do, because that's what we do, you've got to have human contact. You've
Yeah,
got to have that human contact, like you have your meetings with a group of women, or you've got you my best, and I always say to my husband Seaton that my best is actually going down to the local coffee shop and talking to people. And you've got to remain, you've got to use that, because AI can take over. But I think that AI is something that we're all grappling with. I really think
yeah,
we're all grappling with AI in a huge way. And I think that we've got to embrace our AI and use it to make our lives easier, but not let it
yeah,
take control of us. And I think
absolutely.
that for me is really important. And also have that human element.
We've seen the industry move from filing cabinets to cloud computing, and now AI is transforming almost everything. I'm
Mm.
excited about it. What excites you most about it? And what concerns you about it as well? Because, the concern is, well, I lose the human touch. Well, the concern is, I mean, I still, my ChatGPT stuff, I write it first, I put it on ChatGPT, and then I redo it again after that. So, my husband says, why did you bother? Because you're going to redo it again anyway. But to me, it's a lot. So I think there's a lot that excites us and lots that concerns us. Tell me about what excites you and what concerns you with AI.
Mm. I think as EXP, they continually looking for new ways to make our lives easier. They make, if we have a problem, we let them know and they sort it out. And it's generally something to do with AI. And it is going to make our lives easier. I think that from my point of view, my perspective, using AI has saved me hours and hours and hours. If I'm looking over a contract, I want to find out, is this point relevant? Go in, check it out. It's not great. I save countless hours. I'm not an admin person. I don't enjoy it. It saves me countless hours of admin, but it will never ever take over the human touch.
Yeah.
It will never showcase that home the way I'm going to showcase that home, or you're going to showcase that home. People need people. I prefer to shop where I have human contact. I don't
Me
just,
I do shop online, but I must say, if I'm actually going to shop, I've got to go and try the dress on, try the shoes
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I love that. But I think a lot of businesses need to be careful, because technology can replace that experience a lot, but it can't replace the judgment, and can't replace empathy. It can't replace the feeling, when you say to girl, what do you think about this? You lose all of that with technology. So the saying is,
Yeah.
technology processes information, but wisdom interprets it. And I think you've got to have that wisdom in the world. How are we going to teach wisdom to the youngsters of the world who are just starting out today?
Wow, that is such a big question. I found that the young people, yeah, they have it's a huge question, and I don't know. Quite honestly, I don't know how to teach young people wisdom. Do you think wisdom comes with age, or do you think that some young people do have wisdom?
Well, I always say with my grandsons, they were born clever because they can do all the things that I can't do. They just, if they get so irritated, just give me your phone, let me just do it, boom, 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 and it's done. So I think, but for young professionals entering business today, there's so many skills that they have to learn, because a lot of them don't have a lot of emotional intelligence because they've been doing everything on the phone. And also on the phone, you can talk to a person, how you like, but face to face, it's a whole different ball game.
It's a whole
So
different ballgame. Yeah.
so, so my next question is: do you believe the future belongs to people who embrace technology, or to those who understand people? Because at the end of the day, we're all in the people business. No matter how much technology you have, that
Hmm.
to get that person to make that decision, you've got to have that feeling, and I still believe that people feed off other people's energy, and they feed off your energy. If you're enthusiastic about, oh, I love this place, I think it's going to be a fabulous home for you, they'll feed off your energy. Whereas if you, what do you want, this one or that one, there's a hell of a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. I think if you feel like you're in control, you're just not going fast enough, because we're just not going to be able to be in control, quite
Yeah,
honestly. But you
yeah,
asked something else, which I've just now slipped my mind, was the wisdom. I think wisdom and cleverness are two different things, because wisdom is something that you do, I think, get with age. And
yeah.
clever, I mean, these grandkids that we have are so clever.
It's so
It's
clever.
remarkable. It's so remarkable.
When you think much, our life has changed from when we were growing up till now. Their life is going to change when they look back when they're our age. They're going to say, "Oh my God, my life's changed so much." But I think, what is one lesson that 30 years in business has really taught you?
Phew, that's a big one. How to swim, how to stay afloat,
Yeah,
how to stay the lane.
yeah,
I think that that's what I've got to, that's what keeps me grounded, is that I wake up and look, you know what? The biggest thing in my life is my family. The biggest thing in my life is my family. And what frees me up to be able to spend more time with them is
yeah,
the valuable thing that I take away from being a real estate agent, because I
yes,
can actually use my time as I wish to use it. And of course, I'm a granny. I look after the
yes,
grandkids when my daughter needs that, and she is, thank God, she is in Cape Town.
yeah,
So I think it's very important for me, and the biggest lesson I've ever learned is that you. I think it's not the power of positive thinking; it's how
uh-huh,
you think is what actually makes you.
yeah,
Because
absolutely,
if you are, I mean, you go through difficult times and you think, "Oh, I'm a total failure." No, it's a difficult time which we are going to overcome. You cannot. Yeah, it's a power of motivating yourself and not being negative. I can't take negativity, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's it. You've got to be positive all the time. I know if I go to a conversation and it starts getting negative, I just leave the conversation. But I've
yeah.
got a sign in my farmhouse which says family um, isn't the most important thing; it's the only thing. So I
So
think that
only
get back to family. Your family is so so important. But tell us, going back to your career, what's the best career advice you've ever received?
I think the best career move, and I know I keep on going back to it, Margaret, but it really has made such an impact in my life, is actually when the person who came and talked to me about EXP spoke to me about EXP and said, "Why don't you join?" Because it gave me something that was so much bigger than myself. It gave me, and I think that advice changed my life from then. I didn't embrace it immediately, it took me a while, but since I have embraced it properly, I've actually, it's been huge. It's been absolutely huge.
And then tell me the biggest mistake that you made that became your greatest lesson. Because there's always, when we make mistakes, oh my God, what have I done? And then you think that's your greatest lesson, and it helped you to go forward.
I think that one makes mistakes all the time, because as I say, there's every single deal is so different. And so I think one makes mistakes all the time. I don't think there's a biggest mistake I've made, but I think there've been mistakes all the way along. And
Yeah.
whether it's, I mean, we have fantastic documentation, but it doesn't always cover everything.
Yeah.
And so I think that to be on your toes is so important. And it's not
You've
easy,
got
but
to,
you still make mistakes. I think the nicest thing about that, Margaret, is that we are human. We're not AI.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
we
we
do
really
make
are.
mistakes. I haven't had a massive mistake that's actually blown up.
Well, I've had a few, I have to tell you, but anyway, I think as a realtor, you are a successful entrepreneur. You have the ability to be a very successful entrepreneur. What do you think one quality is that every successful entrepreneur needs to have?
I would say multiple income streams.
Yeah,
I don't think you should rely on one thing. I think you should have multiple income streams. You should be able to, if one, it's that saying, we don't know which way the wind is going to blow.
yeah,
And if
yeah.
the wind blows in a different direction to what you believe, you've got to have another one to fall back on. And I think there's
Yes,
something like 7 income streams in EXP. So it makes it, although it's all under the umbrella of one
yeah,
company, they're
yeah.
different these different streams of income. I think that most real estate agents have one income stream, and that's selling a property and earning commission. So for
Yes,
us, we have selling a property and the revenue share. Those are my two really, really important ones, but there are multiple other ones there as well. And I know you do believe in that because I know that you like to teach people to have
I
different income streams.
people always have two streams of income. No matter what it is, you have to have something else to fall back on if number one falls away. And then what I also teach them is to run them in tandem. And when one is your job and the other is your passion. And when your passion
Yes,
overtakes the money you're earning in your job, that's when you know to jump ship and go off on your own.
jump ship.
But then you have
Yeah,
to have enough money to sustain yourself, to pay the bills in the meantime until you start making money. But now
of
in
course.
Cape Town, you've been in Cape Town all your life and you absolutely love it.
No, I was born in Johannesburg actually, and
Really?
I moved down here, yeah, 28 years ago. Seaton's family, my husband was, his family grew up in Cape Town, so we came down here, and yeah, so yeah, I do love it. I love the outdoors. I love the sea. I love what it offers. And you've got that in Florida, which is fabulous. Maybe not the
Yes,
mountains.
we don't have any mountains in Florida; it's completely flat. But yeah, it's amazing. Now, if you had to leave one message for the next generation, what would that be?
I still love what you say is start small, start nervous, start imperfect, but start
Yeah.
with intention because the
Yes,
future belongs to people who prepare, not those who wait. And I think too many people don't do that. They just they need to take hold of something. And I think
yes,
be passionate about what you do.
yes,
Never let integrity never let it go.
yeah, yes,
Always be honest,
yeah.
and just never, ever give up.
Mary, thank you so much for sharing not only your remarkable career journey, but also your perspective on where business is heading. And I think we've really got to think about that today, girls, and know where we're going and know that property is fantastic. If you're not into property and you haven't bought property, now's the time to buy. People say it's not the right time. It's never the right time. It's never the right time to sell. When you want to sell, nobody wants to buy. But, you've just got to do what you can. And I think technology is undoubtedly going to continue to evolve. And I've seen it with technology in my business here over here. Everything is just on your phone and on the computer. But at the end of the day, trust, integrity, and relationships are what keep people going. And that's really going to make such a difference going forward. So thank you to all of you who've watched on the Move with Margaret today. And thank you to Mary for being my guest. And to everybody watching, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you here next week for another inspiring woman who's done incredibly well. And Mary, well done for doing so well over all this time, still working at 70. And girls, you think you're going to give up? You can't give up today. If you've lived to your 50, you're going to live to over 100. So you've got a long way to go still. And Richard Mapanya was my inspiration. I met him when he was 94. He died when he was 99, still at work and still going strong. And that's how I want to be. And I hope you all do too. So Mary, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been lovely having you. And I really wish you all the best going forward. And what's your parting shot to all the girls out there who really need to get going and get motivated today?
Absolutely, just do it. Just do it. Just get
Yes.
involved. Just do what you love with passion and just do it.
That's the old story, the old Nike story. Just do it and let today be the day you start. So thank you so much, Mary, for being on my show. Thank you to all of you who watched, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.